My name is Yevgeny. My call sign is Nikitos. I have been serving in the Donbass battalion since May 17th, 2014. I am from Donetsk region, from Donetsk itself actually. I saw firsthand how Donetsk was invaded by separatists, these unknown armed men, united in small groups of 10-15 men. They were steadily invading area offices and town halls. At that moment I realized everything could be repeated here as it had happened in the Crimea. I thought that some men, so-called green men, might appear, though it's impossible to call them humans. Then I decided to join the battalion Donbass, and I arrived at Druzhba camp on May 18th, 2014. We started our operational record from Artemivsk. We arrived in Artemivsk, and it was already a Ukrainian territory, together with Bakhmud. And our first battle operations were in Popasna. There were about three or four combat assaults. The first ones were unsuccessful, but finally we conquered Popasna. And then our platoon took 3 prisoners. One of them was even a Russian soldier from GRU, Main Intelligence Directorate of the Russian General Staff. After Popasna we fought for Lisichansk, and after Lysychansk for Ilovaisk experience. I actually took part in a combat assault of the center of Ilovaisk. It was on August 19th, 2014. There was a group of about 80 people. Our senior officer, assault commander Bishut, our assault team commander. We were quite successful. We even tried to set a Ukrainian flag on top of the town hall in the center of Ilovaisk. But suddenly a mass intense fire and an incredible rebuff started from the side of pro-Russian fighters. Terrorist Chechens, yes, there were Chechens. I heard them myself. I saw them, I heard their language. Well, under those circumstances, we made up our mind. Actually, our senior officer made a decision to leave the center of Ilovaisk, and we began to retrograde. All our assault unit retrograded, but we had casualties. Our commanding officer, known as Schultz, Skiff, and a few more people were killed. There were a lot of wounded. There were explicit city battles. The city battles reminded me of a computer game, when people appeared from round the corners, shot us from the sewer hatch, jumped out of the cars and shot us from AGS, but we made our way. In the long run, when our casualties had become absolutely massive, our senior officer Bishut made a decision about the retrograde of the main group. We began to retrograde. Together with Bishut, I protected the retrograde of the rest of the groups. And when the main group had already retrograded, we got into a shootout with a group of pro-Russian fighters. In that fight I got wounded, the bullet went through my knee. Bishut got shot in the head, but he survived. Recovered consciousness, well, first lost consciousness, then recovered, and we didn't have an opportunity to retrograde within our main group. So we were surrounded, and there were only the 2 of us. We decided to hide in one of the houses nearby. So we got into one of them, I don't remember how many floors there were in the house. It was just an ordinary block of flats. I could only step on one foot. The chute went in. We took one of the flats in that house. We thought it was an empty flat. We thought that at first. We came in, closed the door, treated our wounds, rested a little bit, and then found out there was an old lady. She was about 90 years old, hiding from us in this apartment. So we calmed down the granny and promised to leave soon. We explained that we were Ukrainian soldiers and we want to escape from this place. However, we couldn't escape as we were surrounded. We had to stay there for 3 weeks in this flat to live, eat, and drink there. During these weeks, we were visited by some guests, neighbors. About 5 guests came to see us. The granny accidentally opened the door to her neighbors, and all the 5 of them got to know exactly who we were, that we were from Ukrainian Army, National Guard, from Donbass battalion, who they considered to be desperate punishers. None of them disclosed us, and we are very grateful for this to them. Not only they didn't disclose us, but they also fed us, brought us water, provided telephone connection, helped us with civilian clothing. Thank you a lot for that. After spending 3 weeks, we realized that it was September 11th. The Ilovaisk pot was over, but we had no idea what was going on. We were waiting for Ukrainian troops to appear any day and conquer the city. We didn't have any information about the fighting line, but we could see out of the window that the city is full of Russian soldiers, pro-Russian fighters. We realized Ukrainian army couldn't manage to conquer the city. We had to think how to leave that place because we couldn't stay there any longer. Our wounds looked very bad. We needed immediate medical aid. We didn't have any medicine left. We decided to leave. And to leave in the most impudent way. We called the taxi, put on civilian clothes, and tried to move out. I was the first one to leave. I got home. My relatives were there. They met me. Later on, the senior officer did the same thing and arrived at my house. We spent a few days at my home, rested a bit, recovered, and then we moved out from Donetsk on the ordinary minibus. We departed from the South Railway Station to Krasnoarmeysk. Going in bus to Krasnoarmeysk, which is a Ukrainian territory, so our comrades met us. I don't really understand how this war can be finished. I can't even predict because I don't know what our main enemy, whom I consider to be Putin, and who had triggered off this war, thinks and what can change in his head in 5 minutes. It's quite difficult to return these territories in a military way. Well, it's possible, but how to persuade people, how to change their mind? The people who live there sacredly believe that Ukrainian authorities, Ukrainian people and Ukrainian troops are explicit fascists. They think that only Putin can help them, and I really have no idea how to over-persuade them. It's so embedded into their way of thinking that it seems almost impossible to throw away. There were a lot of attempts to explain to the people that they were wrong, that it's absolutely not what it looks like. I think it's impossible. That's why I think we need the next generation to come, and when a new generation comes to Ukraine, the country that we're now renewing, where we want to build, in which we want to build a democratic society, ensure the liberty of speech, and establish the real human rights. When they realize all these changes, see them for themselves, then I hope they'll change their mind.